Well, hello, PBC. It's good to see you today. We continue our journey through the book of Daniel. We are in chapter 7, and this is a switch from the narrative portion, which is chapters 1 through 6, and we now enter into what is often seen as the vision part of Daniel, and it's going to be full of weird, strange imagery, and we have to, as we read through this, separate ourselves from the imagery and find the meaning. So let's dive in. While I was at the beach, I sat in the surf with my youngest daughter, and wave after wave broke on us, and we were rocked back and forth each time, and it was good fun. My youngest daughter would see a wave coming, and she'd get nervous, but I would whisper, "I got you. It's okay." Never was she in any danger. For her, the waves were huge and powerful, but for me, those same waves weren't so big. The waves hit, but she was safe in my arms. And when the time came and it got too rough, I picked her up and carried her away from the waves to the calm beach. Life is scary, and it can be like waves at a beach. And we live in a world full of evil people, sickness, natural disasters, and we can't control them. And as we fear what we can't control, let us remember that we are not alone. God is holding us in his arms, saying, "I have overcome the world." Chapter 7 of Daniel marks a change in the book. We move from the narrative to the visions. What he sees are the spiritual realities behind our world. They were written to encourage the people returning to Jerusalem. They would continue to encourage the people as they sat under the Greek and Roman governments. These same visions, inspire us as we sit in a world that is not our home today. His visions are nightmarish. Daniel was frightened by what he saw, and we would be too. We tend to be puzzled by the strangeness of the beasts. Today, I ask you to look past the oddness of what we read and focus on the deeper truths and the story his visions are telling. Daniel told his readers that even though the world is scary and evil, God sits in control and will judge the wicked in his time. So why do we fear the wicked instead of trusting in God? Today, wickedness seems prevalent. However, God is in control, and Jesus is reigning in his eternal kingdom, in which we will all enjoy forever. So we're going to look at this in three things to trust God in. And the first one is trust God when the world seems scary. This chapter again forms a sandwich. In the first 8 verses, we are frightened by the beasts. They seem to be in control, told to dominate and gorge themselves on flesh. In the middle, we see a different scene. It is a scene from heaven. God, the Ancient of Days, is ruling from his throne. He judges the beasts and gives a kingdom to the Son of Man. In the third part, we get an explanation of the beasts and their final destination, and ours as well. Just like the waves at the beach were for my daughter, we live in a world of frightening things. Turn on the news, and you will find no shortage of things to fear. We see man's evil everywhere we look, and evil seems to be winning. We fear what might happen tomorrow. We feel like a child getting pummeled by the waves. That is how Daniel felt in the first 8 verses of chapter 7. He sees these beasts rising from the ocean, and they are terrifying. A lion with the wings torn off. The lion is standing up like a human, and then there's this bear with ribs in its mouth, and it's told to eat its fill. There's this leopard with 4 heads and 4 wings, and we may wonder, what are we reading? These are nightmares. And then this 4th beast appears. And let's look at the text here in verses 7 and 8 as it describes this 4th nightmarish beast. It says this: "After this, I was watching in the night visions, and suddenly a fourth beast appeared, frightening and dreadful, incredibly strong. With large iron teeth, it devoured and crushed, and it trampled with its feet whatever was left. It was different from all the other beasts before it, and it had 10 horns. And while I was considering the horns, suddenly another horn, a little one, came up among them. And the three of the first horns were uprooted before it, and suddenly the horn was with eyes like a human, and a mouth that was speaking arrogantly." So we have this beast with iron teeth, eating and trampling all the people before it. Then there are these horns, and this verse is disturbing. A small horn uproots 3 other horns, and this horn has eyes and a mouth, and it speaks arrogant words against God, and we find that out in the context. And we ask, what are we reading? Well, many scholars try to associate each of these beasts with a specific kingdom. And there's much speculation as to which one goes where. And that is an important thing to consider. However, I want us to focus less on the speculations and more on the realities of this dream today. What do I mean? With this kind of literature, like Revelation and Ezekiel, we can sometimes get lost in the oddness of it all. Let us keep the big picture here. These beasts represent terrifying worldly forces. They are kings and governments. They oppress and trample people, and the imagery is used to illustrate reality. It is easy for us to see governments as just humans, people, but there are spiritual forces at play in our world and throughout our world. Daniel illustrates them through the use of beasts. Dale Davis is so helpful here when he comments on this verse, and he says, "I would say that biblical apocalyptic is a sort of prophecy that seeks to enlighten and encourage a people despised and cast off by the world with a vision of God who will come to impose his kingdom on the wreckage and rebellion of human history." It communicates this message through the use of wild, scary, imaginative, bizarre, and head-scratching imagery. This prophecy in Daniel is more about the message than the imagery itself. Here, the message is that the world is ruled by humans guided by spiritual forces. These beasts desire to crush and destroy the people under them. The victims are powerless on their own to stop such frightening evil. Hope is not found in finding a slightly less evil beast to side with, but to hope in something greater and more powerful than all the beasts. If you are here today and feeling cast off and despised, maybe under attack, let us look at these next few verses for hope. If all we can see are the beasts, like the waves, then we are hopeless. But Daniel's message to his readers and to us was not one of fear, but one of hope in the midst of fear. Yes, the world is scary. Evil is frightening. The waves of life will hit. But beloved, our hope is not in this world. It is in a home and a kingdom we cannot yet see, but experience even now. Our hope is in the King of Kings. So we get to our second point, which is trust in God. He sits on the throne. And this is verses 9 through 14. We're going to break it up in pieces here. Verses 9 and 10. "As I kept watching, the thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was white like snow, and his hair of his head the whitest wool. His throne was flaming fire, and its wheels were blazing fire. A river of fire was flowing, coming out of his presence. Thousands upon thousands served him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was convened, and the books were opened." So the scene shifts from the beasts in verses 1 through 8 to a throne room. The beast may have had dominion, But the one sitting on the throne was not new to power. In a world where an old king was always replaced by a younger, newer king, this scene is shocking. The one on the throne is from days of old. We would say from eternity. Ancient of Days is a title given to God the Father, and it shows that he ruled before the beasts, during the beasts, and will rule forever after. For Israel, under the dominion of oppressive worldly kings, this was a reminder that there is a throne they cannot see and a king who sits on that throne. And on this throne sits their true king. He rules above the rulers that they see. This king will judge the worldly oppressors. This vision was a moment to take hope that God had not left them or lost control to the beasts. Where was God as their kingdom fell? He was on his throne, and he sits above the beasts of this world as they oppress his holy ones. The Ancient of Days is represented in purity and in justice. His clothes and his hair are metaphoric for his purity and goodness. He is altogether good. Fire represents his power and his justice. He will not devour the people. He will judge rightly the wicked. An innumerable number of people serve him. Daniel doesn't know how to describe the number of servants before the throne, and this is why he repeats the number 1,000 many times. Instead of people being devoured, they are serving and praising the Ancient of Days, and this is a scene of worship. Verses 11 through 12, I watched then because of the sound of the arrogant words of the horn was speaking. And as I continued watching, the beast was killed and its body destroyed and given over to the burning fire. As for the rest of the beasts, their dominion was removed, but an extension of life was granted to them for a certain period of time. The little horn is there too in this scene with the other beasts. This is a court, and they are about to be judged. For all the fear they produced in the first 8 verses, the beasts are swiftly taken down. The little horn is killed, and the other 3 beasts' dominion was taken. There was no fight, no protest. When the king speaks, it is. To a battered people, this should be a breath of hope. The world is scary, people are evil, but God will bring them all to an end. There is hope in the King who sits on his throne, who doles out judgment and justice at his will, and evil will not succeed, it will fail. Our hope isn't in a worldly government to aid us, but in a King who is and forevermore will reign over all creation. Verses 13 and 14. I continued watching in the night visions, and suddenly one like a son of man was coming on the clouds of heaven, and he approached the Ancient of Days, and he was escorted before him. He was given dominion and glory and a kingdom so that every people, nation, and language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will not be destroyed. Now we see this Son of Man coming on the clouds before the Ancient of Days. The optics are divine. He is on the clouds. The Ancient of Days gives him dominion and glory. He will reign forever. This is no mere man. He is like a Son of Man. We know this to be Jesus. And by the way, this is why Jesus so often referred to himself as the Son of Man. When Jesus said this, he was connecting back to this passage. He was showing himself to be the reigning King whose kingdom will know no end, and all the nations and people will serve him. Our hope in a sinful world is in Jesus, who reigns as King over all worldly heads. He proved his kingship when he rose from the dead. We are not home yet. We belong to a kingdom that will never fade, and we worship a king who walked out of the grave. So as the waves crash and our fears arise, let us look heavenward with our eyes. We will enjoy his kingdom forever one day. Let us trust in the one whose power and goodness will never go away. As we wait in a world of sin, let us be reminded of a king and a kingdom with no end. Beloved, let us not live in fear of the beasts the evil one deploys, but in the hope of that God is in control and in Jesus' kingdom that can never be destroyed. Number 3, let's trust in God, for he judges the beasts. As we enter a time in Taiwan known as Ghost Month, we are reminded of the spiritual realities all around us. We may experience fear during this season. It may seem like the spirits are winning. They're being paraded around in the streets, after all. And this can be disheartening. We are pressed and confronted. We are oppressed and feel defeated sometimes. Evil appears prevalent throughout the culture. We look around the world and this trend only seems the same. God's people are being persecuted and killed. Evil is loud, proud, and even flourishing in almost every country. Christians are given less and less freedom to worship worldwide. We begin to wonder, how can God's people be so oppressed? How can evil be winning? How can God's people be losing? Where is God as his people suffer all over the world? Well, for that, let's look to his word. We're going to skim some of the verses here, verses 18. But the holy ones of the Most High, this is one of the people watching this scene in heaven, speaks to Daniel and describes what the beasts are and continues to talk and says, but the holy ones of the Most High will receive the kingdom and possess it forever, yes, forever and ever. Verse 21. As I, Daniel, kept watching, this horn waged war against the holy ones and was prevailing over them until the Ancient of Days arrived, and a judgment was given in favor of the holy ones of the Most High. For a time had come, and the holy ones took possession of the kingdom. And let's again go to verse 26 here. But the court of heaven will convene, and his dominion will be taken away, that of the horn, the little horn, to be completely destroyed forever. The kingdom, dominion, and the greatness of the kingdoms all under all of heaven will be given to the people, the holy ones who were formerly oppressed, the holy ones of the Most High. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all the rulers will serve and obey him, and we would know that him to be the Son of Man. Daniel reminds us that God is not distant. He is sitting on his throne actively. In these verses, we see the little horn wage war on the holy ones. We see the arrogant horn prevailing over God's people. And we see that in the world when we look out at our news and we look out at just everything around us. But this is not the end. This is not all there is. It is not out of the Ancient of Days' control. He has convened his court and issued a proclamation. And two truths pierced the darkness of Daniel's vision. One, that even as the enemy crushes God's people, it is only for a time. And that time is allotted by the Ancient of Days. The beasts have no power in themselves. Number two, the court of heaven will convene. There is an end to the war. God will eradicate evil. It has no chance. God proclaims that the holy ones will inherit the kingdom forever. The temples and the bye-bye tents that we see set up all around the city remind us that God has allowed for a time these spirits some freedom. They are spiritual forces active beyond Ghost Month as well. They may press us. They may discourage us. However, they will not prevail over us. When we see these spiritual symbols, let us remember that God sits over them. Let these symbols call us to prayer, to praise the Ancient of Days, and to take a moment and to pray for those enslaved to these spirits who don't have the hope yet of the greater King. God is on his throne. We don't search for hope in people, in government, or in money. We wait eagerly for the day that God convenes his court and ends the beast's reign once and for all. And the forever defeat of the beast is contrasted with the forever victory of God's rule. Beloved, we have a beautiful promise of sharing in this kingdom forever. Let that hope drive you through Ghost Month and see past the present evils until we find ourselves in our true home with the one who is like a Son of Man. As we consider the oddities of chapter 7, let us find the deeper, more glorious meaning. Look past the beasts and see the court of heaven. See the certainty that God is in control. No matter how difficult life is, no matter how much evil seems to be winning, God sits over it all. He has promised that one day evil will be crushed and Jesus' dominion will be enjoyed by his people forever. That hope is a light on the darkest day and a blanket on the coldest of nights. Trust in our God when all we can see are the waves. We trust in God who is sitting on the throne. We trust in God who has judged the beasts and will end them. Beloved, never surrender your hope to lesser things. Let me end with the words of a Swedish pastor, Walter Luthy. He said this, "We know of the Son of Man, who is at the same time the head of the church and the shepherd of the fellowship. The shepherd sees the lion coming, and the bear, and the leopard, and the fourth beast, and does not flee." Our Jesus sees the beasts, the evil, and the trials, and he does not flee. He does not run. He does not fear, for he cannot and will not lose. Trust in the one who has overcome the beasts and stand behind him today. Let's pray. Father, the beasts of this world roar. They are scary and menacing. They attack us, yet they will yield to your mighty hand. Jesus, let us trust in you when we are afraid. We long for the day when your kingdom, our home, becomes sight. Holy Spirit, steady our feet on the faithful path. Strengthen our hands for the task of worship throughout the day. Amen.